Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tastemaker Talk, our bi-monthly webinar series where we help food creators level up all aspects of their business and reach their goals. I'm your host and founder of Tastemaker Conference. I'm Abby Rodriguez, and I'm joined today by my business bestie and Tastemaker COO, Chandice Probst. So for anyone who's new here, we start our episodes off with new food news from Chandice to help us stay in the know-how about the trends in the foodie industry. So before we start talking all about today's episode, which is building a brand story, Chandice is going to give us this week's update.
Yes. Okay. We're starting it off strong. Okay. There's a perfect Thanksgiving drink. There's no way you could ever guess what it is. So I will give you $100 if you can guess it.
Will you really?
Yes.
It's Thanksgiving thing. Is it a gravy drink? Because that's immediate.
Oh, you were so close. No, it's a green bean casserole sparkling water.
You see, like I
Who
always
is,
think
I know.
you
I
bring up
was
just
like,
like, in my opinion, gross things, but like this might be the grossest.
I know, right? I literally was like, why? Why would anyone buy that? I mean, I get the Oreo Coke. Come on, like Coke and Oreos. That
Or
makes
it's sweet.
Lori said that's just disturbing. I know,
Yes,
right?
Lori, it is disturbing. That's a great word.
So our Aura, which is actually a popular sparkling water brand, and they're
Mhm.
bougie, but that's like I get cucumber. I've had a cucumber sparkling drink and it was fantastic. It was like kind
Okay,
of
that's fine.
a
Cucumbers
green
are great.
casserole. It's like ew, ew, ew,
Just
ew.
casseroles should never be turned into drink format at all.
It's never a drink. Okay. How many of you have noticed? Well, first of all, are you Chipotle fans? Because I like Chipotle.
No,
No, you're not a fan. Okay.
just
Uh,
no.
After criticism, they're bringing back bigger portions because customers were very upset about they didn't want to raise prices, so they lowered the portion size, and their people got mad. So bringing back bigger portions.
Okay.
Anyway, a new copyright rule lets McDonald's fix its own broken ice cream machines, which to me says how often must they be broken?
Wait. The reason why they're always broken is they're not allowed to fix them on their own?
I guess. No,
Tell
so
me.
we're saying so a new copyright rule lets McDonald's fix its own broken machine. So just now they're going to be able to start fixing them.
Okay, so I had no idea that the reason why they couldn't it has to do with copyright
I
law.
didn't either.
I wonder, I guess it's a vendor whose machine makes McDonald's soft serve ice cream. That is wild.
I guess. But everyone jokes like that's a whole thing about how they're always broken.
Because they are, but that makes sense. And
Like the
I feel like I'm just learning so much about how many pieces go into these businesses that I think, right, we just take for granted that you're like, oh, they must make everything, but how many distributors and manufacturers and stuff go through
yeah,
the ice cream machine. That's wild.
yes. Speaking of nasty flavors of stuff, I don't think it's nasty. It's just weird. Baskin Robin is doing a turkey dinner flavor. So have you seen their turkey cake, ice cream cake that looks like a turkey?
No, but what flavor is it? Chocolate?
It's just like ice cream. So that's what
Okay,
their
I
cake.
mean, it's kind of fun if it tastes
But
normal.
they have a flavor of ice cream now. It's called Brie My Guest. It's inspired by cheese board staples and combined brie and burrata flavored ice creams with almonds, pistachios, and apricot swirls.
I like cheesecakes and things like that. So, and I like putting sweet
You feel
jams
like that would be
on my
okay?
cookies. So I would be down with that. Yeah.
Okay.
And let's see, Lori and Melissa can see that being good too.
That being
So,
good. Okay. I feel like brie would be, I'm fine with the burrata, fine with that, or even ricotta. But brie is so, like, I don't want blue cheese in my ice cream and I don't want brie in my ice cream. But
oh
yeah,
man.
Melissa says brie is awesome. I
You
know.
ever
I
got
like
honey on your brie? It's like the same thing because in triple cream brie, it
that's
basically is ice cream.
that's true. I know. I don't dislike brie entirely. Maybe I just don't think it's an ice cream flavor. But
Mm.
okay. Last thing, Wendy's is closing 140 restaurants by the end of the year, and TGI Fridays filed for bankruptcy. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
that's so
man.
sad. That's so sad. And then there was today is National Sandwich Day, and my friend Arson from Top. Did you have a sandwich?
I didn't even know. And I had a sandwich from Jersey Mike's and they have gluten-free
Perfect.
bun.
I
Did
know.
you?
They're so good. They do such a good job. So my friend Arson from Top Hat Rank posted a video of really good egg salad, and it has chopped dill pickles, mustard, and I added basil. It was this green, beautiful egg salad, and it was so good. I was like, I want to make that. And he's like, you should. And then I sent a picture. I'm like, I did. So I made this really yummy dill pickle egg salad. So drop us in the chat, what sandwich is your go-to sandwich on National Sandwich Day?
Yeah. Everybody have sandwiches for dinner.
Mine's a bit unorthodox. Growing up, my grandma did this for my mom. My mom did it for us, is we'd have peanut butter and pickle sandwiches.
Oh, yeah, that is your thing. You
That's my
know,
weird thing.
I feel like I can see that being good though.
It's
I've
so
been
good to
on a
dip
pickle
pickles
kick.
in peanut butter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have been like weirdly putting pickles on everything with random combos and it's like, this is not bad.
Yeah.
I I just love like a gourmet grilled cheese. I mean,
Mm.
is that a sandwich technically? Is
Yeah,
a
it is.
grilled cheese a sandwich? I mean, because when I think of sandwich, I think of like a turkey sandwich or a BLT or something.
No, sandwich is a sandwich. It's between two slices of bread or it's open face on a piece of bread, you're good.
Mm.
So tell us, Daphne, what's your go-to sandwich? Melissa, Lori, tell us what your go-to sandwich is on National Sandwich Day. But that is my new food news, a little bit of everything, and let us know how the green bean casserole sparkling water is when you buy it.
Along with your turkey flavored ice cream or whatever the
Your
hell is
free,
happening
yeah.
in the world.
Daphne loves a grilled cheese with some avocado and sauerkraut. Yum. Leslie
Ooh,
loves a grilled ham and cheese with fry sauce. I love it. And then Melissa loves James the Peach from Ike's restaurant is my favorite. Okay, I don't know what that is. So what is James the Peach sandwich?
I mean, it sounds amazing.
Yeah. Oh, Lori's a grilled cheese person too. Look at you. You were wondering if it was a sandwich. Everyone loves grilled cheese.
You just can't go wrong.
Mm,
It's a California thing, it looks like. Melissa's sandwich.
interesting.
We'll have
Okay,
to learn more.
we'll look into it more.
Well, in the meantime, we are less than 90 days away from Tastemaker Conference 2025. Can you believe it?
No, I'm
No.
like, oh gosh, the countdown is on.
Yeah, or are we? Yeah, I don't even, I mean, we're technically how many days away? Daphne, how many days exactly are we away? Um,
My head, it's
and
like,
yeah. So it looks like we have just a few tickets left. So for anybody who's listening here live or catching the replay, if you want to come to Tastemaker, get your tickets now. I think we have 11 VIPs left and just a handful of general admission and a handful of business tickets before it's totally sold out. We sell it every year. So you can get more information about the schedule, who's speaking, all those things. We're co-locating with the Fancy Food Show. It's going to be in Vegas. It's going to be so fun. So many great things to do. Daphne's going to drop the link in the chat here and in the show notes so you can reference that. We also have a transfer ticket board for people who are no longer able to attend and you want to transfer it. This is especially helpful. Like I'm going to say when tickets sell out, there's a lot of people asking for transfer if there's anything available. So Daphne's going to post that. That is in our Tastemaker Collaborative. We have a whole area for that as well if you need those resources. And then Chandice, you have a sponsor spotlight before we talk.
oh, so exciting. Before we dive into our topic, we're going to sponsor one of our incredible or highlight one of our incredible sponsors, Influence Kit. Influence Kit makes it easy to share campaign results with brand partners, create professional, always live reports that your affiliated brand will love in minutes. Stop sending screenshots once and for all and create your free Influence Kit account today. So I love that it's free and we are so excited and grateful for their support. So thank you, Influence Kit, and we are ready to dive in.
All righty. Okay. Section 1, Introduction to Brand Storytelling. Just kidding. I won't talk like that the whole time. But I think, right, branding is this thing that I feel like can be this nebulous, ambiguous thing, but a lot of people are talking about it right now, right? With just how everything's changing on the internet and with search and with machine learning and AI and just all the changes that are happening. We're hearing a lot of this rhetoric and narrative of you need to come back to your brand. You need to have a really strong brand. So I think this conversation is super timely. So Chandice, how would you
Mhm.
define brand storytelling? And why do you think it's important for food creators? Like from your lens and your experience, how do you define that?
Well, I'll work backwards. I feel like that brand storytelling is so important because what did we see with this huge hit this year with the Google update? What we saw was those creators who did not have a great brand story, that their face was not on their website. There were some websites that had been bought or sold or whatever, and they didn't want to put an about you page. They did, but they kept it very, there were no photos of people, there was no story behind it. And what happened? They
Mhm.
literally lost 80% of their traffic. And I'm not saying that everyone who lost traffic did that, but that was a huge thing. I remember when we talked to Andrew Narson, that was a really big thing to optimize. I don't like that word, to refine your about you page to truly tell the story of who you are, you know? Um,
Mhm.
it's important to be an authority on something that Google can count on you for and that your audience can count on you for. So they can send traffic and your audience knows where they're landing. And so I feel like that's the importance of it. But it's definitely a great way to build your audience and go beyond just products or services or recipes or selling, but really talk about your why. That's been really helpful for me. And if you know your why, it's always part of what you do. Everything we do at Tastemaker is community education experience. And it always comes back to that. And now we have a fourth in legitimizing the creator economy. And it's so easy. We always turn to that. And sometimes I think as creators, we don't think that our blog or business needs those same values and why, and
Mhm.
but they it does, you know. And if you're wondering if you should do something or if you shouldn't, you ask yourself, does this resonate with my why and my audience and my story that I've told? If not, then hey, it maybe has great search traffic, but why would I throw that in there? You know what I mean? Do
Mhm.
things for the right reason. And so in a world of constant, there's always more that can be done and always more that needs to be done or should be done, or you need to know your why more than anything, and your audience needs to count on you. You want to
Mhm.
create a memorable experience every time your audience engages with your content and with your social channels and with you.
Yeah, and we actually have a free resource, Daphne. If you can dig that up, you can find it on our website under our resources and our freebies of building a brand with impact. We actually led it was one of our very first workshops we did, and the whole exercise around that. And we'll drop it in here. It's just a free resource you can use. It's identifying your brand values, and I think that is a really important part to follow up with what Chandace said of identifying your why and having 3 to 5 values and then establishing from there, is every decision I'm making driving this value and this decision. So I would take some time to do that. And honestly, revisiting it every year to 2 years is helpful because your brand can change. Like, especially I think for a lot of food creators, I've seen this happen a lot where we're telling and advising people to like also be niching down because we are seeing success with that, because I think you can get like a better grasp on your expertise the more niche you become. And like as that happens, as you're reinventing and kind of rebranding yourself in a way, like things change. We're complex as humans and we're consistently evolving. And I think that's good to even do on a personal level of like what are your personal morals and values with how you live your life. I think they kind of all have a similar thread and theme, but even those things can change. And I think it's just important to stay up to date on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I know, Abby, both of us can agree that it's crucial to understand your audience as you're building those brand values, and understanding your audience is going to help you with that. So, what are a few things that our listeners can go and do today to get to know their audience better? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the key thing that we are learning and seeing right now is get to know your audience, because that is what is differentiating you from an AI search bot or some random competitor of something that's like not a real person, right? It's kind of this whole the keep it real campaign and all these initiatives that are going around, they revolve on you being a real person, and that involves this relational, a relationship with you and your audience. So I think um taking time. I mean, I feel like this is honestly a theme that we talk about almost every episode is relationships, and like, what are you doing to build that? And I think like email marketing is huge, right? Because you can get right into their inbox. I think it is one of the most personal ways of talking to people. And I think even just like aside from recipes, and yes, people come to you for recipes, but even sending out like a quarterly newsletter or something that's like, hey, this is just a heart to heart message from me. If it, like the butter half is my food blog, if I were to just send one of those. And I know I haven't been great at doing it on the Tastemaker front, but even just using that as an example, sending out like a quarterly founders message, I'd be like, hey guys, this is what's been on my heart and mind. And it's not necessarily about business. It's just kind of about being human and just like that connecting point. Um, I think the people want the behind the scenes. They want to see who you are as a person. If they are invested in you as the brand, and I think sometimes we get afraid of letting ourselves be seen, or we want to keep boundaries around things or want things to be polished or have a certain perception. And I think that's all great and fine. But I do think in this day and age, with the way people, and especially the younger Gen Z and younger generations, even, what is that, Gen Alpha, like our kids' age, who are like ages 12 and under, like that's how they consume content, right? They're like listening to a person just talk to them, long form videos, those types of things, which is why we see YouTube doing so well and having so much growth, or TikTok, or on social media with reels and having it be more conversational and less produced. And so in terms of food content, I think that's a huge opportunity behind the scenes, emails, just like real ways of interacting with people.
Yes.
And also like surveys too. But we've talked about that a lot. But I think that goes without saying, like surveys, all of that, but like just be yourself. Like be a person that people can talk to and engage with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the best thing, because we've talked about this. The more and more that AI comes out, the more and more we're going to crave, just like you said, that human interaction and that human touch. And you know, it, it was funny because one of my very favorite blogs of all times, um, sorry, I'm trying to find the right light here. There, that's better. I've liked this amazing blog, Eden from Sugar and Charm, for years and years and years and years. And we're now friends. But you know what's funny? You know whose blog I still go look at? Eden's. And you'd think after 10 years that I'd be like, I've looked at these posts 20 plus times, but they
Mhm.
make me happy. And I go back and look at them every season. I go back and look at the Halloween party that I love, that I'm like, one day I'm going to do that one, 10 years later. Or I look back at what she's doing new and fresh. In fact, I have it's as a saved tab on my browser because I check it so often because I love her work and it brings me joy. But she's done a great job at telling a story. And in 10 years, she's adapted, but she's also kept her why the whole time.
Mhm. That's a really, really good example. Well, and I think like leading into that and identifying brand values, like you operate two different blogs now. Um, would you mind sharing your brand values, like how those might be similar or different for each one, and how that's helped you in setting goals and creating content for each brand?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure with the holiday one, it that was the one I started last year, and it was fully a passion project. I love the holidays. I grew up with a memory maker mom, and she's incredible, and I've been trying to do the same for my kids. And most of the traditions that we do are ones that were passed down from my mom. So they're not like this big elaborate Pinterest thing. They're things that have a true meaning in my heart and bring nostalgia back to my life and to my children's lives. And so I just wanted to share more of those.
Mhm.
Um, I wanted I wanted to share that. So it's holidayfoodandfun.com, and our theme, or our, you know, tagline is holiday cheer the entire year. And it's showing different ways that you can celebrate, from small to big celebrations, from birthdays to St. Patrick's Day to Christmas to New Year's, whatever you want to celebrate. We're showing you how to do that in the best ways that we've found. Um, and so truly, that's always what I come back to, is holiday cheer the entire year. Is this something that I'm doing just for traffic, or is this something that I'm doing because it actually matters in the sphere of holiday celebrations and memory making? So
Mhm.
that's that. And it definitely helps me know which direction to go, because especially with the holidays, there's so many things out there that you could do and that you want to do, but then you think, well, does that align with my audience and with my wife? With This Vivacious Life, that was started 16 years ago, back in the
Wow.
.blogspot.com days. It was glutenfreefrenzy.blogspot.com. Then it became glutenfreefrenzy.com. Then I rebranded to This Vivacious Life. And the reason was because I felt like I was being pigeonholed into just gluten free, which is great because that's the main focus of the blog, is gluten free, because I was diagnosed with celiac disease over 16 years ago. And I immediately wanted to provide a place for people to find recipes and things that they could do, or resources that they could use for themselves as well, because it was not readily available back then. Even things in the grocery store were few and far between, especially good stuff. But as I got better at living gluten free, I started caring about other things like the non alcoholic drinks and mocktails. That was important to me, or like charcuterie boards and things like that. And so I wanted to expand beyond just gluten free frenzy. And also, it started as more like a giveaway. Like, we did lots of giveaways. And I was like, okay, I've graduated from gluten free frenzy into something different. and
So
so
how
I
did you refine that then, though? It sounded like you kind of were all over the place and you're like, I need a clear focus. So
yeah,
what did you do in terms of like finding those brand values?
yes, absolutely. So on my About You page, I shared the whole story about how all my life, my mom has always described me as vivacious. Chandice is vivacious. That's who she is. And part of the things that matter to me came out of some of the biggest trials, like being diagnosed with celiac disease. That was devastating. It seems people are like, oh, you just can't have gluten. No, you can't have gluten ever. And you have to have a different toaster, and you can't have a French fries in the same fryer. Like, it's a very different lifestyle. And so for me, when I was ready to, I had gone past, I wanted to just provide people with free stuff in the beginning. And so I did lots of deals and giveaways and stuff like that. And it was fun. But then I was like, actually, I think I want to do more recipes. I really want to dive into the recipes more. And so, but I said, but I don't want to be limited to gluten-free recipes. I mean, they all are gluten-free, but I also wanted to focus on the drinks and the charcuterie too. And so I thought, this is my vivacious life, and I want to share that with others. And so then it allowed me to go beyond gluten-free. And so on my About You page, it says that. And for a long time, one of the things that I heard was, you know, someone once told me, you are just sunshine and rainbows all the time. And I said, no, I'm definitely not. I am for sure not. And if you know me well, you know I'm not. I have my bad days, but I do choose this a lot. And so a lot of time when I was growing up into adulthood, I felt like I needed to suppress that a little bit. Like, I wouldn't be taken seriously as an adult with that personality. But then I learned, no, this is part of why the people who are around me really we enjoy each other, is because of that. And so that's what I talk about on the About You pages. Now I'm living this fully, and I'm here to share it with you. So if you are also, wanting to make delicious gluten-free food and get in the kitchen and be inspired, because it is hard to be diagnosed with celiac disease, and a lot of people never want to cook again. And I understand that, but that's probably then not, my site's probably not for you, because
Mhm.
you'll want to get in the kitchen. You want to try new things. You want to get excited to make Thanksgiving dinner again. And you can still mourn and have those moments of frustration. But so that was where that transfer came in, kind of growing up and doing different things, but also still remaining the core of gluten free and
Mhm.
providing that to people. And then that extended into the non alcoholic drinks. There's a lot of people now who are looking to have an elevated drink experience that's not just soda, but without the alcohol. So
Mhm.
it was fun to kind of branch into those new things.
Yeah, and it kind of just tells a story of like your life and where you've been to and like what's important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that goes to just show that it's okay to change too. It's okay to say, I want to do different things. You know, Iowa Girl Eats, she had a great blog and then she got diagnosed with celiac disease. And you know what she did? She made everything gluten free. And is everything on her site gluten free? No, because she had hundreds of recipes that weren't before. But now that's her focus because she's like, I'm eating gluten free. You can eat gluten free too, you know? And
Mhm.
she's done great with her blog. She's killing it with her site. And so I think it's okay. We sometimes worry, is my audience going to come along for the ride? They will because you're part of it. They want to be with you.
I love that. That is so true. I mean, I kind of experienced that. Like, I'm not as active on my blog anymore, but yeah, it was the same thing. I had started it before and then got diagnosed, and that honestly became like the new emphasis on mine was I went and got my holistic nutritionist certification and went and got an herbalism certification to really like take back my health and really focusing on like plant forward recipes and like plant medicine essentially as part of your food. Um, and it was interesting to just see like what opportunities came out of that. Like I got a cookbook deal out of it, which was my number one goal with having my blog. I'm like, I can quit my blog as soon as I did that. And guess what? I pretty much did. Like it still exists, but I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm going to do the next thing now. And I think it's okay to, like you said, rebrand, pivot, move along, try new things.
It is, and it's the most beautiful cookbook. I have it on display at my house. I love it. And so with that, I feel like you said, you were kind of with the butter half. You had started, remember, with the headbands, didn't you? Like back in the day, you did headband or family blogging, like
Oh,
fashion.
yeah, I started yeah, it was a fashion blog and then
Yeah,
like a little Etsy shop. And then and then I turned that into like a lifestyle blog once I started having kids. And once I started having kids, I had to learn how to cook, right? And I was like, oh, I should pivot this into a food blog.
yeah,
Yeah. And
it's perfect.
here
And
we are.
so speaking of that, because in order to get that cookbook deal, you really had to sell them on your brand story too. So talk to us a little bit about what you would say some of the main components are of crafting a compelling brand story, because you got that cookbook deal with Simon and Schuster, one of their publications. So you're pretty good at telling a brand story. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I did that cookbook in collaboration with my co-author, Jennifer Cardilla. And so she had a lot of great connections there. So I do want to be totally transparent about that. It a lot of times is who you know, right? Like a lot of our success, but I think like that's the beauty of networking and making sure that you're putting yourself out there and being parts of communities like Tastemaker and getting to know people. But yeah, absolutely. You cannot pitch a cookbook without having like a really compelling story and what sets you apart. What is your unique, value proposition? And I know we're gonna talk about that later, like what's your unique selling proposition. I would say it's also your value proposition in the sense of like, this is what differentiates me because you still need to have that, I think, in maintaining like a sense of uniqueness and in a marketplace where, there's thousands of food bloggers and I know we definitely preach collaboration over competition, but the reality still is like there are lots of people doing the same thing as you, but you have a different spin on it because your story is different. And so the way we set ourselves apart in that way, is, we have this angle to talk about gluten-free and like plant-based foods from like an herbalist perspective. So, right, there's thousands of books that are plant-based, gluten-free, all the things. And that was also like a trending category. So I think it's also being aware of trends and like what people are looking for in the marketplace. Because ultimately, if you're going with the big publisher, like their goal is to sell books. And so they follow market trends closely like that. And so, we realized, okay, this is happening. But what was coming up was a lot of like herbalism and plant medicine and holistic health and nutrition and things like that. So the fact that we were able to blend them was a really great thing. And so the book is called Root and Nourish, if we're using this as an example. And it's interesting because ours was one of the first books that kind of went in that realm of how do we incorporate like this wellness herbalism bent along with this type of food. And now to see like a couple of years later, like Giselle, how do we say her last name? Giselle, like the supermodel Giselle, came out with a cookbook called Nourish. And I was thumbing through it and I was like, this looks like my cookbook, but I'm like, there's like a huge place in the market for it now, but like you have to be aware of like what people are looking for too, which is kind of why we're always talking about like, search and like what are people looking for? We have data available to us now to show us that. And so I think it's this balance of figuring out what is trending and what do we need to be like giving people based on what they want, but what is true to like our authentic story and how can you weave that into what you're doing and you'll find your place. And not everybody can be in the right place at the right time for the things that are trending and whatnot, but I think that that's the most important part is you know authentically putting yourself there. And I hate that word. I'm like, I don't love using the word authentic. I feel like it's overused, but I think like in this instance, that's like the only word I can think of because that can resonate with people, like you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the the creativity that was born from that cookbook. Those ashwagandha chocolate chip cookies and like the bowls and the smoothies. Oh my gosh, so many good recipes. So many good recipes. And so true to you, but look how far I love hearing your story, your food journey of how far you've come and what you used to eat to what you eat now, which I think it's so great. And also you're like, but I still allow myself freedom to have the Doritos or whatever, you know what I mean, if that's what you want. But overall, your audience journeyed with you to do
Mhm.
this natural plant-based, mostly plant-based cuisine. So
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's moderation.
forward,
There's
plant-based.
times and yeah, or just like for me, it's like whole eating and just like, do you know where your food comes from and can you recognize it in its whole form? And just thinking of food that like, is this nourishing me? And that can mean so many different things. Whether that's emotional nourishment, I think a birthday cake can be nourishing, right? Whether it's like nutritional nourishment, there's just so many ways you can quantify that. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We talked a little bit about the unique value proposition, but I think there's conversation that comes up in pretty much every conversation is choosing the right channels to put your content out on these days. So how can food bloggers know which platform or even medium is right for them when choosing where to allocate their time and efforts? I feel like you have a lot of knowledge with this as you've been growing not one, but two websites and kind of you have the experience of having a pre-existing brand and also building a new one. So what is your advice in that realm?
I definitely think it comes down to what you like to share and who you are. Because Susie, for example, our friend from Hey Girl Hey, has thrived on YouTube because that's where she glows, right? But other people really kill it on Pinterest because they're doing a great job with their content on their blog, and they don't necessarily want to put their face out there and be like a video person, but they have great content. And so Pinterest is working really well for them, where you can still tell stories, just maybe without your face as much. You still have your About You page and all of that. Um, and then Instagram is a whole nother beast, which I've actually started loving it. Remember last year, I was like, do not like it. And now I like it. And it's because I have a community that I really feel engaged with and that I feel like, oh, I found my people. This is fun. This is really fun. But it does require a lot of work. And so, as we've always said, choose one and focus on that besides your blog, because your blog is your web real estate. That should be the first thing you focus on, as well as your newsletter. Those are the things that you own. Then choose maybe one platform to really put forward your work towards. For example, I have really focused on Instagram, and I know I should be doing more with Pinterest. I know I should be doing more with Facebook, but the truth is that I'm seeing the ROI from Instagram, and I enjoy doing it. So it's kind of that balance of also what you enjoy doing. And one of the other things I was going to say too is as you're choosing a place to share, kind of your unique selling proposition, if you will, because we're all selling something, right? You may think, oh, I don't have a product to sell. You're still selling something. You're selling your recipes, you're selling your blog. is a couple of things that I found helpful are to use customer focused language. So instead of saying, oh, you know, so instead of just saying, we have the best gluten free recipes, our gluten free recipes make it so much easier for busy parents to provide safe and delicious meals that the whole family will love. So, kind of doing that, for example, and shifting it to that customer first, putting it to them, helping them solve their problem rather than just you. We have good gluten free recipes. We giving it to them. Um, Making sure that, you know, you're going back to your why. So for example, if reducing waste is important to you and you do a lot of budget friendly meals, if you do budget friendly meals, take the avenue of using leftovers too in new ways, and instead of just saying our recipes are great for using leftovers, say we believe everybody has a responsibility to, you know, help our environment and increase sustainability and minimize waste, and here's how we're helping you do that with these recipes, just again making it a bigger impact. And then I think always going back to the real story, that was the first thing that worked well for me, is telling my story of being diagnosed with celiac disease. And I always go back to that. I'm gluten free with you. I'm gluten free with you. I'm gluten free with you, because I don't want them to feel alone. But also I want them to know, yeah, I also wanted a really good cinnamon roll, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I got it. Finally finished it. Those are the recipes and emails that do the best for me. My last week I had an email go out that said I finally cracked the code, and it didn't even say what I cracked the code on, but it said I finally cracked the code, and it got more click throughs than any of my other emails have recently. And it was about my naan bread, because we've perfected our gluten free naan bread and it's delicious, and it got click opens but click throughs because they were like, oh yeah, I've missed naan bread, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so going back to those real stories with real impact. um and then really just going back to what makes you different. When they have a carousel of 4 things to choose from, that first paragraph is so important to highlight yours. They've already decided to make chocolate cake, vegan chocolate cake. Your job is to tell them why they're choosing your vegan chocolate cake, you know? So, for example, our vegan chocolate cake has been perfected over 3 generations. We blend traditional techniques with modern tastes, and our family is committed to quality, and you'll taste it in every bite. Something like that, for example. Using some of my, you know, like examples. That's when we're working on posts for my blog, the first paragraph, most important.
Do you
Everything
write
else.
that copy?
No, that was an example copy, but that is an example of a copy that we've used because it works so well. And that's what, when we're doing it, and I have writers who help, and I tell them all the time that first paragraph is the most important thing, because again, they've already decided to make a vegan chocolate cake, but they need to know why to pick ours, because that's
Mm,
also shows up on Google too. That's all they get is the first paragraph.
yeah, that's really, really good advice.
So those are
Love,
just some of the things that I would say.
love it, love it. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. So, should we talk about the visual brand assets or measuring success? What do you think?
I think the visuals are fun. So, because it's the really fun part. And when you're creating, you know, we've done a lot with that with Tastemaker Conference. So, why don't you talk to us about that? Like, when you were creating Tastemaker Conference, how much time did you spend on those visual aspects, such as logos, colors, imagery, all of that? Because everything we do now is so cohesive and branded. Everything. I love it. Even our Instagram has become very cohesive. And when Leslie goes to print signage for the event, it's all the same. So, how much time did you spend on that, and how do you recommend others utilize that into their brand story?
Yeah, so I mean, that was something that I have always just loved as part of branding. I think that it is really important to have that because you, with your brand, right, you want to evoke like a sense of emotion and feeling. Like, what do people feel when they come to your brand? And I think sometimes I think one of two things. I think we can put too much emphasis on it to the point where it can be detrimental because you're not focusing on other things because you're so obsessed with how something looks. I've definitely been in that camp before. Probably at the beginning, I was so obsessive about it has to look this way that we maybe lost sight of the things that mattered in terms of people's like experiences. But also I've seen the other side of the pendulum where people are like, oh, branding doesn't matter, you know? And I think like in today's world, production is a lot more on the fly. People just like show up and record themselves because they themselves are the brand. And that in its sense is a form of branding. But I think as food creators, right, who we're talking to today, it is important to have some sort of visual aspect that's memorable. So, um, using like you, for example, Chandice, I mean, and I know we use Tastemaker as an example, and that's different because like we are a online platform education community. And so I think like having our branding and our colors, that's important because when you see it, you immediately know, oh, that's a Tastemaker thing. Like if we were to throw up a picture without our logo on it and people in our community know Tastemaker, we could probably say to them, whose branding is this? And I would venture a guess they're like, oh, that's Tastemaker branding. So that's important because you develop an association with this thing. And food bloggers specifically, like I think that there are people you can do that with. I love your holiday food and fun website. Like I look at that and I think like the colors and it's vibrant, right? Because you're trying to communicate. Like what emotion are you trying to communicate? When you think of holidays and you think of fun, you think of bright colors, you think of like festive colors and like confetti and all those things and you have all of those elements. So I think that's really important. Or like the cottage core type of vibe that is really, really beautiful for a lot of food creators and their aesthetic to be this more moody type of look. I think you can definitely tell, like, oh, that's this person's photo because they have a very clear brand aesthetic in terms of the visual assets. So that is important to remember. And what comes back to is, well, what are my brand values? What am I trying to communicate with my food? Is it like this wholesome, comforting family environment? Is it this more moody, earthy, cottagey thing? Like for me with the butter half, like it is kind of earthy but light at the same time. So trying to figure that out. So really identifying how do my brand values translate to a visual aesthetic and what does that look and feel like? And I think it's nice because everybody has a different aesthetic. And you get to know a person through their visual preferences, right? Like I think with Tastemaker, a lot of like the creative elements and assets come from what I like. Like if you were to go into my house, which Candace, you've been there, like I
It's
use a
very
lot of
similar.
it looks the same. Like you'd be like, oh, why is this color palette the same as Tastemaker? Because like those are things that I just naturally like. So I think like, and I think that's the beauty of branding and the aesthetic of it is like you get a part of like who a person is and what their values and preferences are. And it's like a little peek into their world and like the magic that they get to create that element of creation. So
I love it. It's been so fun to see your personality come through in Tastemaker because the deep greens, there's nothing that reminds me more, a color that reminds me more of Abbey than deep, dark green. Like, remember your office? Your
Mhm.
office was absolutely that, you know?
Mhm. Or even like our venue last year, right? When we came in, we're like, oh my gosh, the chairs are the perfect shade of like that orange, gold, yellow, the little accent right here in the corner. And
Yes.
just like some of the like walls and things were already the blue. And it's just funny to see how all those things come together out in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah,
So,
it's fun to do that. And you can also change that too. I know that um, a lot of people are looking into rebranding and things like that. I loved when we had a talk with Bill and Dwayne, and they
mhm.
said, will rebranding increase your traffic? No, but will it make it a better user experience? Yes. If it's not something that works for you anymore. And I really like that because then also that goes back to budget. Do you just spend all this money you don't have to do it? No, because it's not going to be an ROI in that it gives you money right back, but it will give you return customers and it will make their experience much better. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
it's just a sense of cohesion. I think people like find comfort in that. And that is an element of user experience for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, we are out of time. But we are so glad that you joined us for episode 13 of Tastemaker Talk. We hope you feel empowered to get out there and really think about your own brand story, your brand values, what's working for you, what's not, and having the courage to rebrand if that's what you need to do, or refine things, or maybe you're recognizing I have a really kick-ass strong brand that I've built that I'm proud of, and I'm going to keep going the course. We're always here to support you. So let us know if you have any questions. You can email us or leave comments in the show notes or in the collaborative or on YouTube, wherever you are listening or watching this. We love hearing from you.
Yeah.
And then, Chandice, you want to tell them
Well,
about
don't
Tastemaker?
Yes, absolutely. Don't forget to buy your ticket to Tastemaker Conference. We have an incredible lineup of speakers and presenters ready to help you learn more about branding, SEO, marketing, content creation, and so much more. We're going to drop a link where you can um, for that one more time before we go, and it will also be in the show notes. But I think we only have just a handful of tickets, like less than 10 tickets left. So we would love to have you join us. I know people are getting really excited for the event in just 2 months. And then don't forget to RSVP for our episode 14 of Tastemaker Talk, where we'll be talking with Morgan from Firewire Publishing about how to independently create a publisher quality cookbook that won't break the bank. And let me just tell you, their work is phenomenal. Phenomenal price, phenomenal product. I am so excited about this conversation. So I hope everyone,
Branding goes into that.
yes. So we hope everyone has a wonderful day and we will see you soon.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.